Stay home for Labour, isolate solidarity. Let's get together on Zoom, see into people's bedrooms. We're all boys for free. Stay home for Labour, with Crispin is your MC. Get used to the smell of your fragrant hand gel, hands like an ancient mummy. I said stay home for Labour, wave your toilet rolls in the air real quick. Have a laugh, have a sup, keep your spirits up, 'cause when this is all over, we've got some asses to kick. I said stay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats for Stay Home for Labour. Please welcome your host, Crispin Flintoff.
Hello, welcome to Stay Home for Labour, and this is our 11th show, and we've got 45 minutes of action-packed comedy, entertainment, music, political discussion, Labour leaks, everything. It's all here, and we're going to start the show with, hopefully, a poem from our Oxfordshire councillor and poet, Owen Collins. Are you there, Owen?
Yes, I think so.
Great, I can see you fine. You look really good.
Thank you.
Would you be able to start us with a poem that you had about a particular hobby that you used to have?
Yes, well, it's not just in the interest of libel. It's not just my hobby. It's something we've all at one point or other been curious in. And unlike most hobbies, unfortunately, the lockdown presents is not an opportunity to practice this hobby, unlike most hobbies. So this is a poem about having sex in cars, and this is called Lay-by. Down the trunk road, past the verge where the traffic starts to merge, let me be your concierge in the lay-by, baby. Give the car behind the slip where the truckers have their kip and the cabbies spend their tip in the lay-by, baby. A curve of tarmac for no reason, sometimes with traffic police and they sell strawberries in the season from the lay-by, baby. Have a brief romantic sortie down the side of BA40. Take the keys out, let's get naughty in the lay-by, baby. Any old excuse to skive off, stop the wipers, turn 5 live off, a bit of fun before we drive off from the lay-by, baby. Undo seatbelt, help with yours while outside the traffic roars. Put your seat back, lock the doors and be my lay-by, baby. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Owen. That's I saw you obviously at the Stand Up for Labour show in Banbury and in Chipping Norton. You're in a real Tory area, aren't you?
Yeah, well, the Socialist People's Republic of Chipping Norton, if you don't mind, to give it its full title.
But you managed to become a councillor last year, so are you at the front line with this this coronavirus thing that's keeping us apart from each other, obviously? Yeah,
so I'm a councillor in Witney, which you may have heard of as David Cameron's old stomping ground. So as that implies, it's not necessarily a particularly heavily Labour area, but we had some really good results last year. So myself and my girlfriend are both now Labour district councillors. And it's been, it has been sort of on the front line, as you say, not necessarily with council-related stuff, funnily enough. If anything, it's like all of this has proved quite how sort of unprepared a lot of local authorities were, I think, for anything like this. There's been loads of fantastic sort of grassroots volunteer groups that we're a part of that have been doing a lot of the sort of a lot of the helping, the reaching out, the contacting people, delivering food, that sort of thing. And the council there is really to just sort of facilitate that as best as it can. But it was caught on the hop a bit, really. But it has shown that there's a lot of grassroots passion and energy for helping people out there, which I don't know about anyone else, but after December and the dreadful result we had in December, there was that sort of sense of looking around and thinking, oh God, what sort of country am I living in? And so it's been quite heartening to see that actually a lot of people's first impulse is to see how many other people they can help, what they can do for someone else. So there is hope.
Yeah, well, it's good that we can see positives from this. So what's it been like with PPE? Have you been? I heard that you've written a poem. What I'm trying to do is trying to link what I've just said with a poem that you've written about PPE. Have you written a poem about PPE?
I have, yeah.
Right.
It's a new poem. I only wrote it yesterday. Thank you for that seamless link into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so it's just called PPE, and it is, well, with a sort of a gimmick, for want of a better word, may become obvious. But just in case the signal breaks out, the point is to try and write a poem about the current situation, only using words beginning PPE in that order, which isn't easy, and sometimes it isn't particularly funny, which I feel bad about for a stand-up labour. But
you don't have to be.
But this is it. This is called PPE. Plague, pandemic, emergency, poorly planned eventuality, politicians pretending everything's peachy, presuming evidence pointless, placating eugenicists, persistently prioritising economy, proffering paltry explanations. Priti Patel emerges, parroting pathetic excuses, peddling pointless, empty promises, proving evidently plentiful practice, emulating permatant prick elsewhere. Papers print euphemisms, platitudes, preach evangelically, promote privileged Etonians' piss-poor efforts. Publicly, pundits exalt professional Polish expats, privately prepare evisceration, preserving paymasters' earnings. Parsimonious, perfidious England, pensioners parading endlessly, procuring pennies earnestly, parliamentarians professing eternally, public purse exhausted, paramedics, porters expendable. Physicians, practitioners exposed, powerless, poisoned, expiring prematurely, passing early, perishing painfully, entirely preventably. Penning eulogies, playing politics, enough propaganda. Provide everyone personal protective equipment now. Thank you.
Fantastic. You said you just written that. That's really good. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and I hope to see you again on the show sometime.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been really great to be here, and I would gladly stick my digital face in anytime.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you later. And next up on the show we've got Nadia Whittome. Nadia. Oh, are you there?
I keep unmuting myself as you're unmuting me, so we're remuting me every time.
Well, we've got that.
Hi everyone, I hope that you're all doing well. Thanks for having me, it's really great to be here. I've always wanted to come along to a Stand Up for Labour event and have never had the chance to, so now it's coming to my living room, which is exciting.
Well, it's the best way to get hold of you at the moment, no other way. So how have you've been in the press quite a bit because you've gone back to work and on the front line with coronavirus. So can you tell us what happened, what you're doing, what this work is that you're doing, and what your experience of all that is?
Yeah, I've gone back to the job that I did before I became an MP. So I'm working in my same workplace again with my old colleagues and friends, which is, it's difficult, but it's really exciting, and I'm also loving being back. The reason why I made that decision was that I knew that my colleagues would be under enormous pressure dealing with coronavirus on the front line, because social care is already in crisis. And this, if you like, is a crisis on top of the existing crisis. So since 2010, 7.7 billion has been cut from social care. And that means care workers have to go the extra mile all the time, because, of course, just because the government has cut funds doesn't mean that people's care needs go away. So care workers still have to do their jobs, but with less funding and less resources and less staff power to do it. So that's why I returned to the front line, and I can attest from the front line that it's really difficult and people are really scared.
So what's your perception of people's mental health, for example? As you've seen it go on week after week, are people becoming more and more you know, you say scared, but is it coming out in really bad ways? I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine how fearful it must be if you're need social care and this is going on around you, and all you're seeing on the media is this is going to go on for months and months, and you know, isolation. I mean, we're obviously trying to address that with a light-hearted show with some politics, but most people don't really have that access to all this. So what's your perception on how it's going to turn out in the next month or so? Is it just...
This is something that worries me a lot, and it's coming up in my MP casework as well as my experience on the front line, that people's mental health is suffering as a result of this. Isolation is becoming worse, and of course all of our mental health services have been cut to the bone, so are just not prepared for a pandemic like this. And I've noticed as well that because our public services have been cut, and the voluntary sector has as well, but a loss is falling on the voluntary sector, and that's just going to increase after lockdown is over. The effects of this are going to be very, very long lasting, from, you know, children who can't go to school and can't access not just education, but for many of them food, socialisation. And I think what this has shown is that, yes, in some senses, coronavirus is indiscriminate. It's a virus, anyone can catch it. But also it runs along the same lines of inequality and deepens existing inequality. So that's class inequality, racial inequality, gender inequality. So in my workplace, for example, we're 98% women, low-paid women workers bearing the burden of this crisis in hospitals, and, well, mainly in hospitals, but also transport workers. People who are dying are disproportionately people of colour. People who are having to go into work anyway, even though they've got symptoms, because they can't afford to live on 95 quid a week, just like nobody can afford to live on 95 quid a week, even Matt Hancock, by his own admission. So yes, anybody can catch it, but it's people who are already the most marginalised and the most oppressed who are in the greatest danger. And that's why I'm really pleased that Marsha de Cordova, our new Shadow Secretary of State for Women and Equalities, is prioritising this, that this is an equalities issue, it's a class issue. And some people might say, oh, you're politicising it. The issue was already political. The decisions that have been made to date that mean that we're not prepared for this crisis were political decisions to cut spending cuts so that we don't have enough PPE, knowing that we weren't prepared for a pandemic when we had our pandemic run through to see whether we've got enough stocks, and the conclusion was no. Oh well, I hope we don't have a pandemic. The fact that our government prioritised planning for no-deal Brexit instead of this, when we should have been doing what every other country was doing, and that's preparing for a flu pandemic. So sorry, I'm a little bit distracted with the chat because it keeps popping up, and I keep reading what people are writing.
Well, it seems everyone's agreeing with what your experience is of this, and you know, it is terrifying, and we didn't prepare for this at all. And I just wanted to go back on something else which we talked about in the last of these Stay Home for Labours, which was the effect of the Labour leaks on Labour's chances. I mean, what we heard from the Labour leaks meant that effectively Labour lost in 2017. Possibly because the party wasn't supporting Jeremy Corbyn enough, and as a result of that, we don't have the funding for the NHS and the funding for social care that would have helped us. What's your view on the Labour leaks and the ramifications of it?
I've been pretty outspoken on this. I'm a member of the Socialist Campaign Group, and I've signed both statements from that group. I think what this leak shows, well, what the report shows and the evidence contained in the report shows, is that there's a technocratic elite in politics that, you know, we need a total overhaul from the top of politics and the way that politics operates at the top behind closed doors. Because what this showed was, well, like you say, perhaps we could have been 3 years into a Labour government now. Perhaps the absolute devastation that we see around us could have been very different. And that's devastating. And not just that, but the misogyny, the Islamophobia, the racism, and the homophobia contained in that report, I think was shocking to everybody who read it. So we obviously need a thorough, swift investigation. And I'd like to make a plea to people to stay in the Labour Party and to fight for a better kind of politics. Because being in a political party it's not a transactional experience. It's not like going into Tesco and seeing what's on the shelves and what you like the best and buying it and then changing your membership or giving up your membership when that doesn't fit you anymore, when what's on the shelf doesn't match with your ideals. We've got to stay in the party and fight for the sort of party that we want, a genuinely bottom-up, grassroots, democratic party that takes what Jeremy Corbyn and the Corbyn leadership achieved, improves on it and extends it and builds on it. Because Diane Abbott always says it's not called the struggle for nothing. It's going to be difficult. It always has been. And we've got to stay and organise and constructively engage with the current leadership as well.
That's great to hear, and thank you for speaking out on that, because it's not easy to get many MPs in the Labour Party to speak out against it, and many members are so angry that, as you say, there's a fear that people will leave, and we're trying to keep people in the party and to discuss it, because I think you can't just put the lid down on it. People need to talk about it and get their anger out, and then move on a bit and think about constructive ways to change it. Right, so look, I'm going to move on now, because we've only got half an hour or less now, and I've got to get through loads. But it's really good to speak to you, and thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy.
Great to see you all. I'll stay on for a bit. Stay safe, everyone. Keep well.
Thank you. And now we're going to have a Labour leaks update, and this involves talking to none other than Pamela Fitzpatrick. Are you there, Pamela?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
So,
yes, I'm here.
Pamela, tell us what's happened since we last spoke to you all those 2 days ago.
Yes. Well, the NEC has met on Thursday. We haven't had any detailed reports. There's been some leaks from there, and there's been a report on Labour list from one of the councillor representatives. But really, I don't know about other people, but I'm starting to feel that my voice, my anger isn't being heard. And maybe it's because we're not being forensic enough. You know, it's a word that I keep hearing this week, forensic. So applying a kind of forensic analysis to what's going on. We have an investigation into an investigation. The NEC is not due to meet again until May to decide who is going to undertake that investigation into our investigation. I don't think this is good enough. We have a report that's been produced by staff within the Labour Party. It was produced, we understand, as a response to the Equalities and Human Rights Commission. We have that evidence there already. What is the need for an investigation into an investigation? We still haven't had any suspensions of the people accused, yet it's more than 2 weeks have passed. Why is that? But also, I still want to know what happened on the day that Keir Starmer was given the report. What action did our leader take, having received that dreadful report? Did he take any action at all against these people? It doesn't seem so. So I'm kind of disappointed. There's not much of an update. We're still where we were 2 weeks ago, as far as I can see. Again, I would raise the question, we're told it's going to be an independent panel. Who decides the independence of this panel? Where are they coming from? There is no such thing as independence, really, in this situation. So I'm disappointed. I don't know if other people still remain disappointed. I'm angry each morning. I don't know if you do the same, but you see on Twitter and other places, not just the numbers of people who've died due to COVID-19, but the names, the faces, the jobs of what people did, their loved ones' comments. And it makes me so, so angry, because many of these people did not need to die. We did not need to have an incompetent government. We did not need to lose the 2017 general election. I did not need to hear on the doorstep when I was campaigning in 2019 that Jeremy Corbyn posed an existential threat to people. And now we find that there is a real threat to the life of our loved ones because of our government. And we have to find out who was responsible for imposing a Conservative government on us in 2017 and 2019. So I suppose the overall analysis is I'm disappointed and they could do better. And I want answers. And I think a lot of other people feel the same.
Well, we're going to. I'm just going to move on. Thank you, Pamela, for coming on. Can you keep doing these updates for us?
I will. I will.
I'm just going to ask Solomon. Are you there?
Hi, Crispin. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on. Now, you stood as the candidate in Brighton Pavilion against Saint Caroline Lucas, didn't you? Was that like 2017, wasn't that?
That's right, yeah.
So what's you've got a Labour Leaks perspective that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think it has to be recognised that a lot of the comments that were made against Diane Abbott, Clive Lewis, Dawn Butler, these were really dehumanising comments. But what I've heard from a lot of people is that these were shocking comments, so that people are angry about this. Now, my experience is Diane Abbott, Clive Lewis, Dawn Butler aren't particularly angry or shocked, because these are the comments that they face every single day as a black woman or a black man. And I think the shocking thing is that these are senior people in the Labour Party that claims to have the kind of holy grail on equalities, and yet can't seem to get its own, top tier team in shape. And I think that what we risk here is showing that we're becoming complacent around BME voters, around BME members. And we have to look at the fact that if you just take the number of black men MPs that we have in the party, it's just 2. If you now look at the 4 great offices of state, it's really worrying for me that the Conservatives have 50% of the great offices of state as BME people. And equally, when we look at the numbers of, or the percentage of candidates that are from BME backgrounds, the Tories for the last at least 5 to 7 years have beaten the Labour Party on representation of diverse people standing for Parliament. So we run the risk of showing ourselves to be a party that, whilst we've made the biggest change on equalities, being seen as a party that doesn't understand equalities. So there are a few things that, that I think about this. One is that it doesn't really matter where you are in the party, whether you're on the left or the right of the party. Everybody should value people like Diane Abbott. Everybody should value someone that was, in the first group of MPs to be African Caribbean or, non-white. They should value someone that has put up the fight for equalities over the last 30 years and has been a victim of horrific abuse. The only thing which did shock me in this report was you know, when you see senior members of staff, you know, saying whether they're joking or not, that journalists should be told that Diane Abbott's crying in the toilet, and I think that's appalling. So everybody should value people like Diane Abbott, regardless of what you think of her politics. They should value what she stands for, and how she's sort of come through this. And so myself and lots of other black men in the Labour Party have sort of come together and set up something called the 1987 Caucus. And this is kind of my last point on this, is this is in response to the really disappointing thing about this leak has been the appalling response of BME Labour. So this is a group that's supposed to stand up for the interests of diverse people in the party, but it's a group that took about 7 days to release a statement on this issue. And then when they did release a statement, the statement purely said, well, we agree with Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner's statement, which didn't actually condemn any of the comments. I think it's too easy. I was on the call on Wednesday, and I remember, forgive me, you might have to tell me, Crispin, what's the name of the woman who works for The Guardian again?
Polly Toynbee.
Polly Toynbee. And she kind of said, come on, your priority should be COVID-19, it shouldn't be this. Unfortunately, as a black person, this is what you hear every time there's an issue around equalities. You always hear that there's something more important that we should be focusing on. And so there comes a time where actually this was the ideal moment for a group like BME Labour to kind of stand up and say this isn't good enough in our party, and they haven't done it. And I think what will happen is we'll see a lot more grassroots groups, you know, organising to try and replace that space that they've kind of held pretty undemocratically for a while.
Well, that's really interesting. I didn't know all that, and I'm sure other people have learnt a lot from what you've said as well. So thank you very much for coming on and speaking. And yeah, we'll be updating on Labour leaks again. So if you want to come back again, that would be great. Thank you, Solomon.
No worries.
Right now, we've got to move on to our special new feature that we started on Wednesday, which is the quiz. And I know that there's been a lot of excitement. People are talking about it everywhere, in every isolating chamber. That everyone's just going crazy about the Labour Heroes quiz. And we had on Wednesday, we had Angela and Rosemary who got the last question right, and I didn't acknowledge them. So I'm going to now spring a surprise on Angela and say, hello, Angela.
Hi, Crispin.
Are you ready for the quiz of the week?
I can barely contain my excitement at the quiz of the week, actually, yeah.
Thank you. I'll pay you for that remark later. And your first question, Angela, is, can you name...
I hope it's an easy one.
Well, they're never easy. Can you name this man?
Oh, God, no. No, I've got no
Right, I'm going to look on the chat, and is anybody... I can't see the chat, can I? Oh, and I'll have to stop the share and have a look at the chat. Now, has anyone got this one? No. All right. So, Angela, you're still in the hot seat because nobody else got it. I've been told off for not saying what the answers were. So I'll tell you, the answer was J.R. Clines, and he was the Labour leader from 1921 to 22. So his anniversary is coming up next. His centenary is coming up next year. So no, not Arthur Henderson. Good try, Andy Platt. Right. So here we go. Here's your next question, and feel free to try and get the answer if you're out there on the chat. Let's see. Does anyone get this? Who is this?
Okay, you still haven't used at this. I haven't got a clue.
Anybody? Anyone? Right, have we got any comments on that? No, not Margaret Binnerville. No, not Margaret Bonfield. I did her last week. This was one of three. The first three Labour women MPs were elected in 1923. What's Rob saying? What's Rob saying? No, he doesn't want to talk. Okay, so no, that is Dorothy Jewson. Okay, from Norwich. Now you should have got that, Mandy, because you're in Norfolk. You should have got that one. So this is the final question. You'll be the champion if no one else gets it. You're reigning champion. Okay.
Oh no.
This is the final question, and I think this is more likely to get an answer. So let's see. Who is this?
Again, not got a clue. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. He was Chancellor. You can see he's the Chancellor, and he was Labour's Chancellor in 1945. Does anybody get that?
No.
Cripps? Nope. No, not Cripps. No one. Oh, this is right. Morrison. Who put Dalton? Right, there you go. Where is he? Right, Ian. Right, Ian.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, you've hidden yourself.
Yes.
Take fun out of it by doing that.
I'm.
Can we see where you are, or are you on the loo? I'd rather not. If you were on the loo, I'd rather not. So let's go to someone who's got a right. Someone's got this. It's Nam.
Yes.
Have you got a picture?
No. Sorry. What, is this to do with my answer? I cheated. I used somebody else's answer. I don't think I should go ahead.
Whose answer did you use? Nadia?
Yeah.
Right, where's Nadia? Nadia, right. So there's two Nadias on today. Nadia, are you there? Nadia.
Hello.
Did you got that right? You got that right, Hugh Dalton.
Thanks.
Was that did you get that yourself, or did you have to look something up?
It actually came up one time when I was at a quiz with my mum in her up in Lancashire.
Oh, you do good quizzes then. You do quizzes about who the Labour Chancellor.
Oh, no, sorry.
You do good quizzes about who the Labour Chancellor was in 1945. I like those type of quizzes.
We have loads of quizzes.
So you are now the reigning champion of the Labour Heroes quiz. Are you prepared to come back next week and keep your title?
Oh my gosh, yes, I'll have to.
Just have a good look through Wikipedia, all Labour MPs from 1900, and you've got a good chance.
Okay, is it all pictures?
No, well, I'm not going to give it all away, but you might be in with a good chance if you look at the pictures. Yeah.
I'll try.
And where are you from? Which CLP?
Aldershot.
Aldershot. Oh, I've done a show down in Aldershot once.
Good. I was there.
Were you there? Oh, right, great. Yeah, I loved it in Aldershot. It's a good crowd in that back of that theatre. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to have to move on now to the next part of the show, which is the comedians, and we're going to. I'm going to say, are you there, Don Biswas?
I'm there, Crispin. How are you doing?
I'm very good. So, Don, you can't keep writing political gags all the time. You do 2 shows a week, and you keep coming up with these political gags. Have you written any more since Wednesday?
Well, the thing is, I've got no more pandemic gags left. And I feel really bad by that because, like Jeremy Hunt in 2016, I was warned that there will be a pandemic. And like Jeremy Hunt, I chose to ignore it. And that's why I have no more gags left. What I have been looking into, Crispin, I'll leave you a few things, is conspiracy theories during the coronavirus. And some people say that Bill Gates is behind the coronavirus just so he can make money out of a vaccine. And I can categorically say that Bill Gates is not behind COVID-19, but he is behind COVID-95, COVID-98, and COVID-XP. Also, they're talking about censorship. They banned Bill Gates' conspiracy theory videos on YouTube. It doesn't make a difference. Most people won't watch it. That's because Windows 10 is still updating on their computer. The only thing slower than Windows 10 updates are Labour League updates. I'll leave with a few more things. I'm 37 years old and I still live with my mum. And unfortunately, she knows my every whereabouts and where I am all the time. So if the government can't afford technology to fight COVID-19, they should hire and employ a group of nosy and overbearing Indian mothers to track down people who've got COVID-19, just so they can see their whereabouts and tell us where to or what places to avoid. As a result, I reckon my mum could be in the new Taken films. I will find you. I will hunt you down. I'll leave with a few more things. I'll leave with one more thing, ladies and gentlemen. I've read differently about the Labour League report. I thought they wanted it done by July, investigate it and report the findings. And they just want to bury it down, deep down as they can, bury it underground. If that's the case, the Labour League's report will be published quicker and done quicker than the current Premier League season. So, but I don't know how true that is. And I'm say everyone's having a go at Keir Starmer at the moment, but he's a nice guy. I met him a couple of years ago, and I leave with this. I met him a couple of years ago in a fancy dress party. Now, he was wearing his normal suit. Obviously, he was dressed as a Tory. So,
oh, right.
I'm only kidding. But stay safe, guys. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Don. I'm going to ask Jason Patterson. Are you there, Jason?
Yes. What's up, Crispin? You all right?
I'm good. Yeah. So you've been in Battersea. You're still in Battersea. Obviously, you can't change in lockdown.
No, I'm still in Battersea. There's been a breakthrough this week that I found out about. Labour supporters need to listen to this because they're telling you that if you wash your hands for 20 seconds, you'll kill the virus. But I've been told that if Labour supporters wash their hands for 40 seconds, you'll make Boris Johnson go away. So we should all try that after this speech. Right? We should all try that. I've also heard this week as well that this virus is targeting people of colour. So I've decided to nickname this virus the police. And COVID-19, doesn't COVID-19 sound like an unsuccessful rap artist? It's like you got Ice Cube, Wretch 32, COVID-19 just didn't make the charts. That's a weird virus to get taken down by. And also being in Southwest London, I don't know if you guys have been hearing about this, anyone else in Southwest London. There's been a lot of illegal parties getting broken up in Chelsea in the last week. I don't know if you heard about this, but I just find it, I can't imagine an illegal party in Chelsea. I can't imagine there's kids in their rooms popping pills, listening to rave music. It's probably people my mum's age drinking wine and cheese, just having a gathering, So I don't think that's... And now, also, you got to remember, with coronavirus, no other disease or illness or injury is getting much attention. I don't know if you've heard about this, right? I can imagine people going up to the hospital with a gunshot wound, and the nurses looking at them saying, well, you got a gunshot wound, but have you got a cough? Do you have a fever? If not, fill out this form, take a fever. And lastly, I'm going to leave on this one. My neighbours have been having parties, right? These parties are meant to be illegal. You're not meant to have gatherings unless you live in the property, right? There's one of my neighbours upstairs had a party on Wednesday night, and one of my other neighbours 2 doors down had a party, and I was really annoyed because I didn't get invited to any of them. I want to be at risk like everyone else, Crispin. So that's my week, man.
Oh, well, thank you, and catch up with you soon on Wednesday, yeah?
Stay safe, everyone. Remember, wash your hands 40 seconds.
Suzy, are you there?
Hi.
Wow. Well,
I'm missing the Lido, so I thought I'm going to pretend I'm there because my friend sent me this beautiful print of my favourite Lido. So I'm going to pretend I'm there. I'm going to see how I get on with this because I don't have a paddling pool. So I'm going to go in the garden and have my own little Lido. So, are you there?
Oh.
I just saw Jason's Jeez, that was nice. Yeah, so I'm missing the call. I've got my cosy on, but I've got a caftan because, as you know, I'm not shaving my armpits until Cineworld reopens. So no one needs to see that. But I've had a nice few days. It was my mum's birthday yesterday, and we went out for a really nice long walk in this nature reserve. And I put my Fitbit on for the first time, and I got an email from the fraud department saying that someone had stolen my Fitbit because it went over 10,000 steps. Because it was, I think it was in shock. But I had a little walk around town, and it was really weird, all the shops being closed. And to be honest, I think Primark should open as key workers because they still sell inspirational cushions. So I think they should be open to help us. You know, inspirational quotes, inspirational cushions. But my mum's grandchildren, bless her, they couldn't see her, but they at a safe distance, they dropped off a little present. And what they've done is they got some pebbles. So I'm from Plymouth. So those of you in Devon and Plymouth, hello. But what they did was they painted on pebbles for mum. Isn't that lovely? So we got a lovely rainbow one because she's in the NHS. We got All You Need Is Love, which is sentimental. My nephew did a lovely Plymouth Hoe lighthouse there, and also Godzilla for some reason. So that was nice and thoughtful. But because we're still celebrating our birthday, and Solomon was talking about Diane Abbott, and in the spirit of Diane Abbott drinking a mojito on the tube, I'm going to do a quick cocktail lesson because we're going to have cocktails tonight, and we've been keeping up to date with the news and everything, and all the top tips to keep healthy. So just quick cocktail lesson. Get a nice glass. If you want, you can use a nice retro mug there. Obviously, I'm staying at my mum's, so I'm finding lots of these things. Bit of fruit, bit of lime. Got some juice, tonic water. So the first one I'm going to do is like a Mai Tai, but I'm calling it a May Dye because the main ingredient is sulfura disinfectant. So you pop a bit of that in. Apparently that's going to help with any germs you might have. If you prefer a more creamy cocktail, apparently Donald Trump favours the Hob Bright, so pop a bit of that in there. If you want to have a more cosmopolitan one, there's some Raid water killer. If you haven't got any blue curacao, you can use Windowline. That's quite good. That'll kill 99.9% of germs. And my favourite is the Tequila Sunrise. You could call that the Killer Sunrise, and that involves some Raid. And sometimes people like to put a bit of salt around the rim, so you get your lime, you pop your lime around. If you haven't got salt, just use a bit of Vim. That'll be very decorative. And also my favourite one, Sex on the Bleach. There you go. That's nice and clear. That won't give you a hangover. And if you do like your cocktails quite fruity, you could have a peach Bellini or an impeach Bellini. But if you are on a budget and you can't afford to get any of this stuff, just get some Asda squash and some cyanide, and that'll do you. Have a lovely weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Suzy. And Clare Ferguson.
Hello.
In Wales.
How you doing? You all right?
How's it going in Wales?
Oh my God, I'm just dying of boredom. I'm going to die of boredom before anything else. It's getting awful. I'm dreaming of orgies every night. I'm just desperate for human contact. It's getting really bad.
You've got your children there to look after, haven't you?
Anyone. Yeah, just trapped with 2 teenagers as well. Yay, that's just so fun. Yeah, I've got a 15-year-old. He's like peak teenage at the moment, writing like, I didn't ask to be born. And, enjoys sort of screaming in my face. Yeah, hobbies include TikTok, painting nails, and telling me to F off, and that she, doesn't really want to be alive, which is really just getting completely exhausting. I started off a bit like Mary Poppins, having a nice schedule for the kids, and we're going to do some baking, and then we're going to go into the garden, and we're going to plant some flowers that attract bees, and I'm going to feel like Greta Thunberg. And now they're just like gaffer taped into their gaming chairs on like rips of sugar water pumping directly into them. God only knows the horrendous psychological damage that's going to be done. Yeah, it's really dragging, and it's getting really, really challenging being on my own with the kids. And I've had the virus. I've had the virus and survived. I'm here to tell the tale. So yeah, that was really kind of amazing in that, like, the kids did actually have to pull it out the bag and start looking after me a little bit. And so it literally did take for mum to be on death's door for either of them to start cooking. And so yeah, I milked it slightly. I actually had really mild symptoms and got over it quite quick, but I did carry on being really ill for about 2 extra days so that the kids carried on being lovely. And I I completely fell for all of my sort of hippie friends sending me like household, not household, like old wives' tales cures for different things. And at one point I was basically wearing onions, really, nothing but onions, and like hanging them up around the room. Someone, while I was really ill, like proper headache from hell, kind of getting off the fever, someone sent me this video of this lovely hippie lady sort of talking about these herbal cures, and she said that onions meant to be really good for pneumonia. So at that point, I'll try anything quick. So it's like, kids, mummy needs some onion, and we couldn't find like a sort of poultice thing. You're supposed to like make it into a poultice and like put it on your chest, and like in like onion inhalations. So a bit like your mum used to do with Vicks and a towel over your head, like that, but with an onion in a bowl. So I was like breathing in onions. I literally used an old pair of pants, got the kids to cut an onion up, shove it in this pair of pants, heat it up in the microwave for 5 seconds, and was like wearing onions in pants for about a week. It looked like I had 3 tits actually at one point, but it was just onion in a pair of pants. And my room started smelling like sort of stale wee and onion.
Oh,
I know. What I know. Hello, boys.
well, we've got to move on, because we've already run over, so I've got to.
Have we? You cut me short. How very
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we had a
good.
lot.
Thank God I didn't have anything else.
If it wasn't for the Labour leaks, it would have all been fine. So blame the Labour leaks, all right? Ed, are you there, Ed?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sorry,
how are you?
Every time I speak to you, it's all kind of rushed, I'm afraid. But
yeah. Well, I never prepare anything anyway, so you know.
How are you coping with things?
I'm good. I went through a phase where I didn't want to talk to anybody. And that lasted about a week, where I literally didn't speak to anyone at all. But now I'm kind of back to normal, you know, not speaking to anyone.
How have you been doing? Have you been going out doing exercise every day and all that?
Yeah, I've started walking round Aylesbury, which is grim. I mean, Aylesbury is horrible. But I've walked all around Aylesbury most days, yeah. And
what's that? You got a plaster on your head. What's happened to you there?
Yeah, that's a DIY injury.
Is it?
Still doing the garden. Well,
what
it's
are you
not really.
doing that got you that injury on your head?
Well, I walked into a tree.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So what have you been up to? Well, how's life for you?
Just fuming about these Labour leaks.
Other than that,
I'm going to move on. We're going to talk to Patrick, and then.
Oh, Crispin.
Yeah, if you ask me what I'm doing, then it all goes wrong. So we've got to move on to Patrick, because I can't tell you what I've been up to. Here's Patrick. Are you there?
Hello, Crispin. How are you doing? Hello, everyone. You all right? You good? Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good. You've waited a long time to come on. I appreciate you waiting.
Don't worry, Crispin. I've literally been at home for the last week trying to research answers for your quiz. This is the toughest quiz I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even know who I was at one point when you kept putting them pictures up. And then it flashed to me, and I was thinking, who are these people? Have you got like a vault of pictures that are not available on the internet? Have you just got like a load of old Labour MPs that nobody has ever seen that have been kidnapped in your back?
A whole pack of cards of these, yeah.
Get them cards plugged. Get them plugged.
Yeah.
Do you know? I've literally. Do you know what else I've been up to this week? I don't know if you've probably done the same thing. I've told everyone about this before, about, you know, you're getting spammed with emails all the time, and I don't know, I joined up to this voucher thing as well as, you know, like replying back to the CEOs and stuff. But with these voucher emails, everything is so cheap now, and I shouldn't be doing it, but I bought a 6-foot pink inflatable unicorn. It was ridiculous. It was 99% reduced. I thought, I can't let it go anymore, because if it was 100% reduced, someone would have it. So I just bought it. It was only a couple of quid. It was 6 foot, big unicorn, and it squirts water out the hose. I don't know if anyone wants to buy it off me after lockdown, because it is vital, because when your partner's running at you, you can squirt them with the hose of it. And this was genuine. I'm not making this up. The selling point for this 6 foot pink unicorn inflatable was, always be yourself. If you can't, then be a unicorn. And if you can be a unicorn until the drugs wear off, drink some more Domestos, Dettol, take some more LSD, be a unicorn again, and then be yourself. I've got a 6 foot inflatable unicorn for a couple of quid, and I've got a 12-foot net, right? A 12-foot net, golf net with a tiger. I've never played golf in my life. I don't even own any clubs. I've got that, and it was a couple of quid off the internet. So I'm literally spending my days throwing a 6 foot inflatable unicorn at a golf net in the garden. And my neighbours think I've gone mental. They're ringing the police and everything. So, and then the other things that I've been doing as well is my partner, like these positive news stories, my partner's been trying to encourage me to do stuff, like, which is more constructive. I don't know if you've done these things. And it was like, she's been grooming the dog. And I don't know if you saw this in the news, but you know when you, if you want to try and groom the dog yourself and trim its nails, there was a woman on the news, she put sellotape on her head, she put peanut butter on her forehead, she got the dog to sit and lick her forehead so that she could start clipping its nails, and it works, the dog doesn't move. I thought that's brilliant. So what my partner's done now, she started to put, because I don't read books, she started to put Haribo in each of the pages of the books. So she started to encourage me to start reading. So I'm like, and she's put peanut butter, so I'm licking pages, trying to learn words at the same time as eating. So I've done that. And the other thing, I don't know if you saw this, but arguments, because I know there's probably a lot of couples on here, and people have been you've been with your loved one now, or your family for the last 3-4 weeks, and people have been saying about this. First 2 weeks, arguments went through the roof, but statistics now show on the 3rd week, arguments are coming down. It's fantastic. And the reason is, we can't storm out anymore. There's only, you know, after the first week, you know, when you realise you have a big blowout and you go, right, I've had enough, and you try and go out the house and you realise, I can't, there's a lockdown, and you have to go and sit in the cupboard under the stairs. There's only so many days you can do that for. I mean, I've been sat under that cupboard for about a day or two with a Hoover. So it is now just appreciating to live with your loved ones and stuff. I don't know.
It helps you to bond, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's fantastic. I genuinely have got an inflatable unicorn if you do want it.
Can you bring it on to the show maybe next time?
Yeah, I think, well, I can see my partner, she's actually out in the garden stabbing it with a knife. But yeah, if I can get some left of it. Is what?
If there's anything left of it.
If there's anything left, yeah. I might just wear it as a mask, because I mean, to be honest, that'll stop me from getting corona, and I'll get some value out of a £3 6 foot inflatable pink unicorn.
I think you're doing so well in this lockdown. You've got it all sussed. You know how to do this. It's almost like you knew it was coming.
Well, do you know what? It's actually so not. I didn't realise I had so much stuff to do. You know, like you don't realise, do you? Because when you do comedy and stuff, you travel around. It's almost like you're running away from yourself, and it is true, isn't it? It's great when we do with yourself. We're all travelling around the country, and then when you come back, you open that cupboard and you realise, oh my God, I forgot that you have to do things like bills, and you have to sort out proper things. Dentists, you got to go to the doctor, you got to do I just assume that these things happen without you, and then you got to do like proper adult stuff now. So it's crazy.
Well, thank you very much, Patrick. Again, I'm sorry it was late. We had a busy show, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday.
Okay. Now I want to take some time now to talk to Barbara Roberts. Barbara.
Hi there, Crispin.
Hi, Barbara. I asked you if you'd come on the show because last week we had really sad news that Di Coffey had passed away, who was a Labour member in Cornwall, in Falmouth.
Falmouth, yes.
and you got in touch to say that you'd be able to tell us about her and what she meant to you, and pay a tribute to her. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I suppose, for those who don't know, Di Coffey passed away. I think it was last Sunday, and her daughter broke the news via Di's Facebook account on the Tuesday. So it was quite, obviously we knew, because she first had cancer back in 1980, and then she had all clear for many, many years. And the latter years she was looking after her husband that she'd been married to for well over 50 years. I believe Di trained as a nurse when she was training as a nurse when she met her husband. And then he developed multiple sclerosis, so she'd been tied up with them looking after him, but being very active. And she was a very talented lady in other areas. They'd set up a business for babies, making Playmobiles and stuff like that. A bit of an artist, and she wrote loads of poetry and actually had stuff published.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you go to 2015, Jeremy stood for leader, and Jeremy got elected, and Facebook just went boom, and Twitter went boom. Everybody was rejoining Labour or joining for the first time, and Di just seemed to pop up in your timeline, sort of thing. So you get friending and chatting and stuff like that. And didn't realise actually how old Di actually was, because such a pretty lady must be life in Falmouth. She would have actually been 80 next month on the 11th of May. But so Jeremy came along and it reignited her passion for socialist politics. And, she got her local CLP is Truro and Falmouth. And she got elected vice chair of the CLP. And so she's doing that. And then 2016, she set up Falmouth. January 2016, she set up Falmouth Momentum. So she was, despite having had the return of cancer, she was just throwing herself in.
Yeah.
Like what we all wanted, a Corbyn-led government, So, and then obviously after backtrack a bit. Because obviously we had the referendum in spring of 2016, and then straight after that, the chicken coup started.
Yeah.
We had all the resignations and from Jeremy's shadow cabinet, 102 signatures, no confidence. So of course he had to do it all over again, go through another leadership election against some guy. I think he sold ice creams actually, or something like that. So Di had sent him, because she writes poetry, she'd sent him a pamphlet, a booklet of her poems that she'd had published. And to say she was born in Falmouth, and she was the daughter of a tugboatman. So the pamphlet is called The Tugboatman's Daughter, with a collection of her lovely poems. I don't know if you could still get it, but she sent it to Jeremy. Jeremy eventually replied, and that's how they got to meet when he went down to Cornwall during his re-election campaign.
Right.
But, she was really surprised and honoured that Jeremy came for tea with them.
And wasn't there a story that she was she suspended or something from the party?
Well, that was August 16, middle of August 16, when Jeremy came down during his re-election tour. And then, blow me, 2 weeks later, 5th of September, she gets a letter from compliance unit saying, you know, that she'd, she was suspended. And it's basically like you going on about the Labour leaks.
Yeah.
And her criticisms are basically just criticising tweets, criticising the former deputy leader. There was nothing offensive.
So she was suspended, and I believe, she didn't get readmitted, or the suspension wasn't dropped at all?
I know that they basically outed her from being vice chair of the CLP.
Can I just? Sorry, I'm just aware of the time. I just want to show you a picture that I found on her Facebook, which I think shows some humour, but also it's a heartwarming picture of solidarity.
I know which one you mean.
It's people with masks with her picture on them, all rather like saying "I'm Spartacus." They're all saying "I'm Di Coffey" after she was suspended. And when I saw that she passed away, it was really sad, because I think she was really good on social media. As you say, she wasn't, you know, she was a young, she was a fairly, you know, she wasn't a younger member, but she was really prolific on social media, so enthusiastic. And to find out that she was suspended, and I don't think she was actually readmitted, was unbelievable. And I think it shows partly why we have to change the party to make things more accountable at the top. And these decisions that they're making are just unacceptable. Someone like her, there is no way she's done any bad. And it's really heartbreaking that she's passed away. But thank you very much for coming on and paying tribute to her. I know we've run over by 15 minutes, so I'm sorry, but I don't want people to
cheer us back up now anyway.
Sorry?
Say something now to cheer us back up.
Yeah, well, I can't do that. I'm incapable of doing that. The only person I know who might be able to do that is Rob Johnson, and
no pressure.
And Rob's not under any. He's not under any. You're not under any pressure. But I believe that you've actually written another song.
I just couldn't help myself. It was just so obvious. Just saying, write me. I'd like to be able to write nice love songs, but sensitive songs about the sunlight on leaves. But I just wrote this instead.
Well, I'll mute myself so that you've got perfect sound.
Oh, thank you. Right.
And okay. Off.
I'll go. All right. Thanks, mate. God blessed America when he was born, a humble billionaire sent to inspire us to share his gospel with the stars of porn, and to what the ass of coronavirus. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a chump. You wanna be that winning game show contestant. So heed the words of Donald Trump. Inject yourself with disinfectant. God bless this land of liberty. God bless the clan. Viva Las Vegas. We won both world wars, 1, 2, and 3. So we don't bow down to no commie virus. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a chump. You wanna be that winning game show contestant. So heed the words Donald Trump and inject yourself with disinfectant. It clears the lungs, it clears the head, kills 99.9% germs dead. We don't need no WHO, 'cause when the rapture comes, I'll be good to go. I'm gonna take my Glock and my stars and stripes and my freedom fries to see sweet baby Jesus wear the green berets, smoking cigarettes. Well, they're God's own cure for the Chinese virus. Well, if you want a seat at God's right hand, disinfectant wipes the seat clean for us. But don't you tweet bad tweets about your Uncle Sam. We got the great white duck, you got the great Saint Boris. Don't be a jerk, don't be a chump. You want to be that winning game show contestant, so heed the words of Donald Trump. Inject yourself with disinfectant, God's own laxative. Disinfectant may cause nausea, vomiting, dizziness, diarrhea, blindness, insanity, organ failure, but you sure won't die from COVID-19. Disinfectant, coming soon to a hospital near you. Disinfectant.
Now, thank you very much, Rob. Unbelievable how prolific you are. I can see you looking at the lyrics a bit on the side there, because it's a new one, but it's going to go places, that one. We're going to promote that one. He won't like it either, Donald Trump.
Good.
So look, thank you everyone for coming along to the show. We've really run over time. It's too ambitious, too many acts, but I don't care. We had a good go. Thank you to everyone who's helped make it possible. On Wednesday, just so you all know, we've got Richard Bergen on and another good lineup, and we'll be sending out invitations for that. And also, you can watch this on YouTube later on. So thank you, everyone. And now we're going to do, as we do every show, we're going to do the unmute all, and you can all wave and make noises and say whatever you like, as long as it's not rude, because people might hear it. For the next 20 seconds, half a minute, and here we go.
Well done, Owen Comics. Ed. Patterson, superb.
Thank you, Barbara. Great work. Great work.
Well done, everyone.
Well done, everyone.
Suzy B, you crackers.
Nice, Liz. Thank you for the day, coffee.
Yes.
Keep for PM.
Jeremy
Can't sing along with lag here, people. Latency will not allow you to sing along.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Here, Hardy just doesn't. Crispin. Bye-bye, Crispin.
Well done, John. Next
Keep
time.
up the good work. More of it, please.